The committee will come to order. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare a recess at any time, and the gentlewoman from Nevada, Ms. Titus, will be permitted to participate in this hearing to provide a brief opening statement and ask questions of the witnesses. Good morning and welcome to our Las Vegas field hearing. Thank you to our host, Yesco Neon Sign Manufacturing, for welcoming us. Just as you have done for the millions of people who see your Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas sign when entering this great city. Today is the Ways and Means Committee's first hearing outside of Washington since President Trump and congressional Republicans delivered a massive tax cut to working men and women in the One Big Beautiful Bill. Here in Las Vegas, 21% of workers make their living on tips. This city leads the nation in the share of its workers who earn tips. It only makes sense that it is also the birthplace of one of President Trump's signature tax relief ideas, no tax on tips. Waitresses, bartenders, DoorDash employees, bellhops, service workers, and other tipped employees will get a $1,300 tax cut compared to what they pay today. No tax on tips will translate to over $230 million back into the pockets of tipped workers in just the Las Vegas metro area. $230 million just in Las Vegas from that one tax provision. That's money that will be spent at local small businesses, restaurants, and stores, helping both tipped workers better their lives while simultaneously growing the Vegas economy. But what will happen here in Vegas will not stay just in Vegas, because America's 4 million tipped workers will also benefit from the no tax on tips. The One Big Beautiful Bill also delivered no tax on overtime and no tax on Social Security. Blue-collar workers, the men and women who put in the long hours earning an hourly wage to get the job done, will get an additional $1,400 tax cut. Seniors will get a $63 billion tax cut to ensure that their retirement isn't dragged down by high taxes. I know here in Nevada, a change related to the deduction of gambling expenses has made some news. The version of the One Big Beautiful Bill that passed out of the House Ways and Means Committee did not make any changes to the tax treatment of gambling losses. That change was made by the United States Senate. That being said, for those of you concerned about this change, I can tell you that members on both sides of the aisle have heard you, and I know that many members on both sides of the aisle are open to working to address it before it goes into effect on January 1st. With their no vote on the One Big Beautiful Bill, unfortunately, every single Democrat in the U.S. Congress voted against cutting taxes to tips, against cutting taxes on overtime, against cutting taxes on Social Security. Instead, Democrats voted to raise your taxes, slash the child tax credit in half for 40 million families, and slash the standard deduction in half. Instead, it's a slap in the face to the hardworking men and women across this country and in Nevada. It's no surprise. This is the same party that spent 4 years under Joe Biden making life more expensive. President Biden and Democrats gave tax subsidies for electric cars to the wealthy. President Trump and Republicans gave tax cuts to electricians. We permanently locked in the lower taxes for workers and families from the first Trump tax cuts in 2017. Americans will permanently pay less in taxes and permanently get a double standard deduction. Working moms and dads will get a bigger child tax credit, and parents of newborn babies will receive a $1,000 savings account to plan for their child's future. Families will get more help with the crushing cost of health care, child care, and education, all within this bill. Because of an update we made to the 1099 miscellaneous IRS form, the first change in almost 50 years, part-time workers and successful gamblers, especially important here in Las Vegas, will have to deal with less paperwork from the IRS. Instead of encouraging the flood of illegal immigrants that started under Democrats with public benefits, Republicans voted to secure the border and end Democrats' handouts. Illegal immigrants will no longer be eligible to receive Medicare, paid for by the hard work of single moms waiting tables. The One Big Beautiful Bill will stop a 22% scheduled tax hike on average American families making less than $100,000 at the end of this year. Instead, we deliver that family an additional immediate $600 tax cut. Families will get nearly $11,000 more in additional take-home pay. That's several mortgage payments, back-to-school supplies, and a family's summer vacation. That's a huge difference for working families. Lower taxes and a bigger paycheck are exactly what 77 million Americans voted for, and President Trump delivered in the One Big Beautiful Bill. All of this came from the American people. For 2 years before President Trump's economic agenda became law, this committee traveled around the country to hear directly from regular Americans. We held over a dozen field hearings, over 100 tax team events, and visited more than 30 different states. We traveled to small towns, major cities, farms, factories, to hear what kind of future and economy Americans wanted for themselves. What they asked for is reflected in the One Big Beautiful Bill. More money in people's pockets, better jobs in their communities, and a strong and prosperous America. Today, we are continuing that work and hearing from Nevadans who represent the winners of the One Big Beautiful Bill: waitresses, overtime workers, seniors, and moms and dads, the blue-collar workers who actually make this country move. I want to thank you all for taking time today away from your family, away from your work, to share with us how President Trump's agenda will make a difference for you. We also want to hear from all of you in the audience. There will be clipboards passed around during the hearing for you to share with the committee how the One Big Beautiful Bill affects you. We want to hear your voice and your story as we implement President Trump's pro-worker and pro-family agenda. Those comments will be entered into the official record for this hearing. I'm pleased to recognize the ranking member, Mr. Horsford, for 5 minutes to provide his opening statement.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and welcome to my hometown, Las Vegas, Nevada. And before I get to my formal remarks, Mr. Chairman, as you know and as you stated, Senate Republicans unilaterally thrusted the gaming economy and its patrons into uncertainty with the unjust inclusion of the wagering loss penalty in H.R. 1. I'm glad to hear your remarks today, but just for the record, I want to know that we have your commitment to work with Ranking Member Neal, Representative Titus, and I to move that legislation forward.
So I've been crystal clear that we'll look at what avenues we can to address what the problem of the Senate created.
Thank you. Well, first, I'm proud to welcome all of you to see our incredible small businesses, our hardworking people, and the energy and resilience that makes this city so special. I have to say it's a shame that you're here to highlight a bill that will be so disastrous for so many Nevadans and our long-term future. Las Vegas is actually ground zero for the damage that Trump's economy is doing to workers and to families and to small businesses. From rising housing costs to falling hotel occupancy, from energy projects on pause to an impending health care cliff, the reality in Nevada tells a very different story than the one Republicans are attempting to sell. On July 4th, while Americans were celebrating our independence, President Trump, flanked by congressional Republicans, signed away our economic and health freedom with the most expensive bill in U.S. history, the Big Ugly Law, all to benefit billionaires. And I refuse to stay silent about the damage that this bill will cause, especially to my constituents. The Big Ugly Law delivers a cruel blow to working families, and make no mistake, Nevada will be among the hardest hit. Despite what you'll hear today from my colleagues across the aisle, this Big Ugly Law isn't a tax cut for working families. It's a $4 trillion budget-busting giveaway to the ultra-wealthy. The top 0.1% are walking away with an average tax break of $309,000, while working families making less than $50,000 will get a mere 68 cents per day. And that's before the impact from all of the cuts that are being imposed by this bill. Republicans had an opportunity to work in a bipartisan way to extend tax cuts for working families in a fashion that would have gotten it done without giving handouts to billionaires. They chose not to. They voted no. Instead, they've slashed nearly $1 trillion from Medicaid, put coverage for over 110,000 Nevadans at risk, cut up to $11 billion from our state's healthcare system. This will all mean impacts to our rural hospitals in places like Battle Mountain and Winnemucca that will be forced to close their doors. And as coverage disappears, healthcare cost will rise and care will suffer. But don't just take my word for it. The CEO of University Medical Center, Nevada's only public hospital, said that they're reviewing expenses line by line, scrutinizing staffing and supplies, and even utilities to prepare for what's coming as a result of this Big Ugly Law. The Big Ugly Law jeopardizes over 760,000 clean energy jobs nationally and over 8,300 jobs here in Nevada by gutting incentives from the Inflation Reduction Act. It raises costs for families by stripping away support for energy-efficient home upgrades. And it hits the backbone of our local economy, hospitality and tourism. Again, don't just take my word for it. Derek Stevens, the owner of Circa, the Golden Gate, and the D, said that the Big Ugly Law, quote, will impact jobs, visitation, tourism. And he's right. Since the Trump-Vance administration took office, Las Vegas room rates have dropped more than 16%. We haven't seen a single month of growth in hotel occupancy since February. Mr. Chairman, this bill is selling a lie that my constituents are too savvy to buy. And that's why I want to make sure that today we are uplifting the truth. The truth is, this is not a public hearing. There aren't hundreds of people sitting here in a field hearing. We could have done this at a public location to allow public input, but instead we're here for a photo op. Well, welcome to the great city of Las Vegas. We're glad to have you, and we're going to make sure that the truth of this Big Ugly Bill gets told to our constituents. With that, I yield back.
I'm pleased to recognize the gentlewoman from Nevada, Ms. Titus, for 1 minute to provide a brief opening statement.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for including me and for bringing the Ways and Means Committee here to Southern Nevada. Thank you, Mr. Horsford, for your leadership. I hope that since you care so much about Nevada families, y'all will spend some money while you're here in some of our casinos. We would appreciate that. You know, this bill really does seem like it's just targeting Southern Nevada. Not only does it hurt our community by going after affordable health care and Medicaid, food stamps, renewable energy, you even tried to sell off our public lands. And it certainly targets gaming and tourism. I was very glad to hear the chairman say he'd work with us to undo that reduction in deductions for gaming losses. The Senate did put it in there, but it came back to the House. They wouldn't accept any amendments, and they all voted for it. So let's be sure we know who's responsible, and let's work together to try to fix it. So I look forward to doing that, to hearing the testimony, and I have some questions when my time comes. So thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Titus. I will now introduce our witnesses. Patrick Wrona is a server at RPM Italian. We have Miss Sharon Simmons, is a driver for DoorDash and is originally from my home state in Missouri. I always appreciate the opportunity to meet a native from Missouri. We have Eric Byington. He's a paint foreman for our generous host here at Yesco. We have Austin Robinson, is Director of Manufacturing at ClickBond. And we have Miss Nancy Overman, is a senior and a retired hospital hospice volunteer manager. And we have Yadasha Jones, is a mother and small business owner from Henderson, Nevada. And we have Nicole Cannizzaro, is the majority leader of the Nevada State Senate. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Your written statements will be made part of the hearing record, and you each have 5 minutes to deliver remarks. Mr. Wrona, you may begin when you're ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Patrick Wrona. I'm a gourmet food server at RPM Italian on the Las Vegas Strip, and I would like to thank you for the invitation to appear before you today and welcome you to Las Vegas. Las Vegas is built on hospitality. We get to welcome people from around the world to the Las Vegas Strip year-round. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you today my experience working in restaurants with my fellow tipped coworkers and our sincere appreciation for the no tax on tips law. As you may know, the restaurant and food service industry is the largest private sector employer in Nevada, representing over 227,000 jobs. Food and beverage establishments generate almost $25 billion in sales every year across almost 7,000 locations here in this state. It is also highly competitive, and a customer's experience with their servers and bartenders can make the difference between a good and bad review, which can be the difference between a thriving or failing business. Personally, I've spent over 2 decades in the restaurant industry, and I can tell you, the work to me is more than just a job. It is my career, it is a community, and it's a profession in which I and a great many others take pride. I first started waiting tables back in 1998 at an Outback Steakhouse in a suburb on the south side of Chicago. For a few short years, I tried the corporate route after college in a white-collar sales job. However, it didn't take long to realize that an office setting just wasn't for me. I enjoy daily personal interactions, an interactive and collaborative workplace, and providing my customers with an enjoyable experience. Also, it's challenging, and that I love. I'm very fortunate to work as a food server at a restaurant I love with fantastic food, with a company I admire, and coworkers who have become like a second family to me. When guests sit at my tables, it is truly important to me that they have the best possible experience they can from start to finish, and that they come back to our restaurant the next time they visit Las Vegas. I had a turning point of sorts during a vacation to Las Vegas in 2007. I visited a friend of mine who was working in a restaurant at the Palms. I witnessed firsthand how much he enjoyed his work, the personal connections he made with guest after guest. That visit changed everything for me. I realized that working in hospitality was truly what I enjoyed, and that not only could I have a career in hospitality, but that I could thrive. I went back to Chicago with a new sense of purpose to build my career in hospitality. I dove deep into the world of fine dining, learning everything I could about wine, food sourcing, presentation, and restaurant operations. It wasn't always easy, especially navigating the ins and outs of the competitive Chicago restaurant scene, but I stayed committed. I opened my first restaurant in October of 2013 and my second in April of 2016. Due to an ever increasingly difficult business climate in Chicago, I decided to sell my establishments in 2019. I was fortunate to sell one shortly before the beginning of the COVID pandemic, but unfortunately lost one of my restaurants to what I feel very strongly were overzealous COVID restrictions placed on our industry. I decided to go back to the basics in hospitality and serve tables again. I rediscovered the joy of connecting with guests and was then fortunate enough to begin working as a server at RPM Italian in Las Vegas. I immediately felt like an important part of a great hospitality experience. My wife Felicia also works as a food server in a restaurant at the Wynn and also knows how hard service workers hustle to make a living. So I am very thankful for the new $25,000 above-the-line tax deduction for tips, better known as no tax on tips. It's a game changer for us. This policy will let hardworking service professionals in Nevada, like me, keep more of what we earn. We are working class people. We have mortgages and families. There are everyday bills and college educations to save for. And it's not just good for tipped workers, it's good for the entire hospitality and travel industry. When service professionals have more take-home pay based on tips from their customers, we all spend it locally, often at the very restaurants and venues we help bring to life. That tip money isn't trivial. It's a lifeline to our families and our community as a whole. After over 20 years in this business, I can say with confidence, this new policy is a win-win for workers, for businesses, and for the clientele and communities that we serve. Finally, I would like to thank President Trump for the idea of no tax on tips. I believe he recognized workers like myself in an industry that was absolutely crushed by the COVID pandemic, and I think he realized that tipped employees, quite frankly, could use a break. Also, I'd like to thank the members of the House of Representatives and for the Senate for passing no tax on tips into law. You are rewarding hard workers who provide the highest level of service for their income. I also welcome your questions and appreciate the opportunity today. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Simmons, you're now recognized.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Sharon Simmons, and I live in Boulder City, Nevada. I appreciate the opportunity to discuss how no tax on tips will benefit me and my family. I am submitting this testimony on behalf of myself. My husband and I live in Nevada, but I am originally from Chairman Smith's district in Missouri. I was raised by two hardworking parents that instilled in me a strong work ethic that I keep with today. I remember when I was 4 years old joining my parents on their newspaper routes. In fact, my mother is almost 80 years old, and she still works. She takes care of children in a daycare to help with her own life's expenses. I've worked in numerous industries in my life, including a factory and landscaping, but I've been delivering with DoorDash for 3 years. I use the platform a lot, and I have already completed over 12,000 deliveries. My favorite deliveries are the ones where I partner with a food bank out of Las Vegas to deliver food boxes to seniors with mobility challenges called Project Dash. Sometimes I'm the only friendly face that these folks get to see in a day. So I use that time and I ask them about themselves and about Las Vegas's history. The earnings from dashing is now how I help put food on our table, how I help my husband with medical treatments, and how I maintain connections with my community and my grandchildren in Missouri. The flexibility that DoorDash provides is paramount to my daily schedule. I can work when I want and for how long I want, and there's no boss telling me when or where I have to be. I don't have to ask for permission to take a trip to Missouri whenever I want. In early 2025, my husband was diagnosed with cancer, and the toll that radiation and chemotherapy took on him forced him to reduce his hours at his job. Because DoorDash provides me with a truly flexible work schedule, I was able to drive him to and from his treatments. During that time, every extra dollar I earned mattered more than ever. I'm happy to say that my husband just finished his treatments, and I'm hopeful that the treatments worked. But the experience has made me appreciate this type of work and the importance of every extra dollar of earnings. That's why I'm very excited that Congress took action to include dashers and other independent contractors in the no tax on tips. For someone like me, that means hundreds or potentially thousands of dollars that stay in my pocket every year. I plan to use these tax savings to cover follow-up medical visits for my husband and to travel to Missouri to see my mom, my kids, and my grandchildren. No tax on tips will literally allow me to see my family more often. It will also help me pay for groceries and utilities during our hottest summer months. Life these days is very expensive, and every little bit helps. And I know I'm not alone. Las Vegas is full of bartenders, servers, bellhops, and fellow delivery drivers who rely on these tips to support their families and to cover expenses. I know these neighbors work hard for a living, and I'm glad Congress recognized that helping them is one of the most important things they can do. My fellow Dashers and I do this work because it matters to our communities, to our families, and to ourselves. We deserve to keep every dollar of our earned tips. To members of this committee, thank you for restoring fairness to our paychecks and enacting no tax on tips. I appreciate the opportunity to share my story, and I'm grateful for the chance to speak on behalf of the countless Americans whose livelihoods depend on every tip they earn. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Byington, you are now recognized.
Hi, my name is Eric Byington. I'm a 55-year native of this great city. My parents moved here in 1960.
Could you move your mic a little bit closer
Okay,
to you?
that's my fault. Okay.
Yeah.
My name's Eric Byington. Okay. All right. My name's Eric Byington. There we go. I'm a 55-year native of Las Vegas. My parents moved here 1960. My dad was a World War II veteran. Fought in World War II, and he worked in the mines in northern Idaho when the Nevada test site opened in the 60s. My dad moved down here. So I've got to see this great city change tremendously. So I am a true Nevadan. My heart is with this city. I've worked at Yesco for 34 years. Great company, great family-owned company. Couldn't say more about them. Great place to work. I said I've been here 34 years. Could have chose anywhere to work in this city. I have a son. He's a proud member of the Las Vegas Metro Department, the police department. He is a member of SWAT. So I have two younger daughters too that live in the state of Wisconsin. Two grandchildren. So, you know, I've been a working class person my whole life. I've been here 34 years. I've seen a lot of things in this town, the economy up and down, changes and everything, the housing market. And for the first time, I think, in a while, we have some hope. You know, I mean, I look at these young kids that come to work here, and I'm like, starting out, how can they afford housing? You know, I mean, the housing market is insane. I bought my original house for $135,000. Now that same house is $500,000. How can a young family, I mean, your house payment is $3,000. You couldn't save for a house. You couldn't do anything for a house. The cost of food, everything. I mean, how do these young kids make it? Now, if they work hard, you know, one member works in the hospitality industry, they can save money on tips. Now, when you want to hustle, work overtime, that money goes straight into your pocket. It's not going and putting some bill or helping somebody out that's not helping you and your family. So these tax breaks are immense for the regular working class people. So the big, beautiful bill is doing its job for the American people. If you want to hustle and work hard in this country, you're rewarded. I mean, that's what it's saying. If you not looking for a handout, you want to work hard, your overtime's not going to be taxed. So your hard effort is being rewarded. Same with tips. Now, if you're a server and you're working hard on your best effort, you want to work extra hard for that tip, you're going to be rewarded. It goes straight in your pocket. That tip's not going to go someone, some other country to help them. It's going to help you in your life. Buy food, pay utilities, try to save for a house. We're giving people hope. You know, even the no tax on Social Security. You know, my parents were old enough to be my grandparents. My mom retired at the age of 55. She passed last year at 93. These last 4 years is the first time in my life I had to send my mother money. So no tax on Social Security. What do you think that would have helped her each month? That's the money I made up for her. Sending my mother money for the first time ever. That was hard. My mom had to swallow her pride and ask for money because the economy and the food prices were so bad and seniors weren't cared about. So no tax on Social Security. We should honor our elderly for what they've done for this country. And that's going to help them more than anything. With their prescriptions, Medicaid, whatever. Not having to pay, they pay taxes enough. So that's huge. No overtime, no tax on tip. I have a lot of friends that I see week in and week out. And them to have that, hairdressers, you know, bartenders, servers, everyone working on that. I mean, it's immense. And not only, and then it gives them something to work for, so their attitude's better. They have hope. That's the biggest thing, is hope. As Americans, that's what we want, hope. We want to see our money going back to Americans, not to other people in other countries, to us. We're the ones putting in the work. We're the ones that get up every single morning. Every single day, I wake up at 4 a.m. to come to this job that I love for this beautiful company. You know, but these are the things that make it worthwhile. This is actually a change for the working class Americans. You know, it's the incentive. The harder you work, that's what this country's been about since day one. The harder you work, the more you're rewarded. And that's what this bill does. You work overtime, you're working hard. You're staying late, now you're rewarded. You're working weekends, you're rewarded. You work hard as a server like that. You spent your time paying Social Security your whole life. Now you're trying to retire and enjoy your hard work. Now there's no taxes on that. We should never be taxing our seniors. That's horrible. So this beautiful bill is serving Americans. And it's something we should all be proud of, not tearing apart. Because it's actually directly affecting the American people every single day. Not some end of year or whatever. Every single day of your life when you go to work, there's an incentive to do your job, to work hard. That's what's about this thing.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Mr. Robinson.
Good morning, Chairman Smith and Ranking Member Neal and members of the committee. My name is Austin Robinson. I am the Director of Manufacturing at ClickBond. I want to thank all of you for making the trip to Nevada today and for inviting me to testify on this transformative impact of tax policies and one big beautiful bill. ClickBond is a family-owned business located in Carson City, Nevada, our state's capital. At ClickBond, we design, manufacture, and support adhesive bonded fasteners. Our products are used in space and aviation, aerospace, vehicle, marine, industrial, and offshore energy. We supply for both civil and defense equipment, and we are proud of the role that we play ensuring America's national defense in the air, on land, and at sea. ClickBond has remained in our CEO's family since his parents founded the company in 1987. As the Director of Manufacturing at ClickBond, I am responsible for approximately 80% of the workforce on the shop floor. The 2017 tax reform was tremendously impactful for both our business and our workers. It allowed us to increase wages, scale up our engineering and development workforce, invest in next generation equipment, and create a new employee academic assistance program. Now, by building and making permanent a pro-tax growth code, the One Big Beautiful Bill will empower us to continue and expand these investments, to purchase more equipment and conduct more research, and to further increase pay and benefits for our employees. And by supporting manufacturers like ClickBond, the bill will support the great state of Nevada. Nevada is the entertainment capital of the world, and we're very proud of that. Yet Nevada must also diversify its economy. Over-reliance on tourism, gaming, and entertainment has created vulnerabilities for the state, vulnerabilities that a strong manufacturing sector can help address. Manufacturing not only provides more stability during economic downturns, it also offers higher paying jobs with greater benefits. Having spent my career in manufacturing, I can speak to that firsthand. My first employer paid for my education, and I am proud to say that ClickBond does the same for any employees who want to go back to school and develop their skills. Our workforce at ClickBond is the most precious resource, and that is reflected in the investments that we make in them. Those investments are actually enabled by a pro-growth tax policy. Small and medium-sized manufacturers like ClickBond operate on thin margins, so change in tax liability can make or break our ability to purchase a new machine or even offer a new benefit. The One Big Beautiful Bill is full of policies that support manufacturers like us, fully expensing the cost for more cost-effective for us to purchase equipment and machinery. Immediate R&D expensing helps us innovate, and a state tax exemption that protects our family-owned businesses from damaging taxes. Beyond these specific policies, small businesses like ours benefit from tax certainty. The tax hikes looming at the end of the year had frozen decisions on investment and hiring, but the One Big Beautiful Bill gave us the certainty we desperately needed. Our workers benefit from this historic law as well. The One Big Beautiful Bill preserves the 2017 tax reform cuts for the middle-class families. It introduces a new policy of no tax on overtime, and that is a further tax cut for many of our employees. Overtime pay is common in manufacturing, and it helps us save up for short-term, or it helps workers save up for short-term expenses and long-term financial security. And it helps companies respond to the spikes in demand. At ClickBond, being responsive to our customers is absolutely crucial to our role in the defense supply chain. Across the country, manufacturing employees work about 6 hours more a week than the national average. So they are well positioned to take advantages of this policy. At ClickBond, all our overtime is voluntary, and we expect the hours will be in high demand with this new benefit. In short, no tax on overtime recognizes the hard work that manufacturing workers put in and the critical role they play on the shop floor and what they play in our economic prosperity and national security. In conclusion, the One Big Beautiful Bill directly impacts manufacturing workers as substantial. It protects them from tax hikes, provides further cuts via no tax on overtime, and frees up capital for businesses like ClickBond to hire more workers, increase wages, and benefits. By recognizing the importance of innovation, investment, and workers, this bill gives manufacturers in Nevada and across the country the tools they need to succeed and grow. This means more jobs and higher wages and more lifelong family-supporting careers for manufacturing workers across this great country. I want to thank all of you again for traveling to Nevada to hear my story and for passing tax policies that will support the manufacturing workers at ClickBond throughout the state and across America. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Overman. You are now recognized.
Good morning, Chairman, Ranking Member, and members of the House Committee on Ways and Means. My name is Nancy Overman. I'm a proud Nevadan, a retiree living on a fixed income, a single mom and grandmother, and member of AMAC. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today to share how the current economic landscape and policies in the One Big Beautiful Bill are impacting my life and the lives of so many others in my position. I graduated from the University of Delaware, began my career in human resources, and spent over 30 years working in healthcare, mostly in hospitals and hospice. That work was some of the most rewarding of my life. It gave me a front row seat to the strengths and the shortcomings of healthcare. I was a Democrat for 38 years, but after needing foot surgery and experiencing firsthand the bureaucratic nightmare created by big government healthcare policies, I had a change of heart. I've proudly voted Republican for almost 20 years, including 3 times for President Trump. During President Trump's first term, I was able to live within my means and manage my budget. But under President Biden, inflation hit hard, and I was forced to dip into my personal savings just to keep up with everyday costs. That is why I strongly support the policies in the One Big Beautiful Bill. We have seen these policies work before. When President Trump cut taxes and unleashed the private sector, the economy boomed. These tax proposals are aimed at getting us back on the path by lowering taxes on seniors, boosting small businesses, and helping working families. When the economy grows, everyone benefits, from seniors like me to young families starting out. As a Social Security recipient, one key policy that means a great deal to me and others in my situation is the new $6,000 deduction for middle-class seniors, which will help to offset taxes we pay on Social Security. Seniors like me are not wealthy, and we are not looking for handouts, but we have paid into this system for decades. And when living on a fixed income, every penny saved makes a difference. This deduction gives seniors like me some breathing room, helps to keep us with the rising costs, and sends a message that our contributions are still valued. For me personally, this deduction means I will be better able to manage the basics like groceries, utilities, and the occasional unexpected expense without draining what little savings I have left. I am also a single mother and grandmother of 3. My son is a hardworking radiography technologist. He picks up overtime just to make ends meet. I was thrilled to see that overtime pay would no longer be taxed under this plan. That means real relief for working families like my son's. My daughter-in-law works full-time in doctor's office and does delivery work on the weekends. Eliminating taxes on tips helps people like her who are doing honest work and deserve to keep what they earn. With 3 children, the increased child tax credit provides relief for their family. Seniors and working families both come out on top thanks to these policies in the one big, beautiful bill. Having worked in healthcare, another key part of this proposal is the expansion of health savings accounts. This is one of the most practical reforms we have seen in years. HSAs have always been a helpful tool, but now they can be used for direct primary care. DPC allows patients to have a direct relationship with their physician without the interference of insurance middlemen. And now seniors can use pre-tax dollars to pay for that care. That is smart policy, and it puts patients in charge of their health again. Finally, I want to thank this committee and Congress for taking steps to restore border security. I have been incredibly impressed by the improvements we are already seeing in immigration enforcement, and I'm especially grateful for the additional funding for Border Patrol and ICE agents. As a grandmother, knowing that our government is taking steps to keep illegal drugs and fentanyl out of and criminals out of this country helps me sleep better at night. I take comfort in knowing that my children and grandchildren are better protected because of the passage of this one big, beautiful bill. Our laws need to be enforced, and we owe it to future generations to keep our country safe and secure. In closing, I want to express my appreciation for the work you are doing, not just for retirees like me, but for all Americans, trying to get ahead, raise families, and live in a country that respects their values, their work, and their freedom. Thank you for the opportunity to share my story.
Thank you. Ms. Jones, you're now recognized.
Good morning, distinguished members of the committee. I would like to thank you for this amazing opportunity to share my story today and hosting this critical hearing in my hometown of Las Vegas, Nevada. My name is Yadasha Jones, a proud Las Vegas resident, God-fearing and devoted wife, mother of 4, and founder of Justice Mobile Notary Service. I am also the state chair of Blexit, Nevada. As such, I educate the community on how to vote based on facts and not identity politics. I am also the chairwoman of Moms for Liberty. I champion parental rights, and I also serve as a board member for Republican Women of Las Vegas. I help to empower women into leading with purpose and vision. I like to share my journey from poverty to prosperity in Nevada, which is now embraced by the transformation powered by President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. It demonstrates how pro-family, pro-growth tax policies uplift workers, family, and communities like ours in Las Vegas. I was born in late 1980s. I'm the ninth of 13 children in a blended family from a single-parent household. I grew up surrounded by relentless challenges. We relied on welfare, endured days without food or electricity. We wore hand-me-down clothes and sometimes holes in our shoes. We moved every 1 to 2 years because we could not afford rent. I attended 28 different schools in Las Vegas by the time I graduated high school, but I graduated. We received $23 in child support checks, which came in my name, and it went straight to household bills. I never saw a penny of it, not for my needs. I watched as my siblings fell into cycles of low-paid jobs, incarceration, or welfare as paths that our community too often accepted as normal. I, however, refuse to let those circumstances define who I am. Fueled by my strong faith and determination, I set out to build a life for myself and my future. In the early 2000s, I was the first female in my family to graduate high school, a huge milestone that was achieved through determination. My parents couldn't afford to send me to college. I waited until I was 24, raising my first child to pursue a degree. Balancing motherhood and studies, I earned a bachelor's degree in business management, which laid the foundation for my entrepreneurial journey, which in 2016, my life made a drastic turn. I became homeless, along with 3 toddlers and pregnant with my 4th child. I had no family to rely on, but I still took a leap of faith and founded Justice Mobile Notary. Within a year, I made it to 6-figure business of Justice Mobile Notary. I put my children to work and proved that opportunity paired with hard work can break the cycle of poverty. 4 years ago, I experienced a series of health crises complicated by COVID-19, pneumonia, and severe sleep apnea. I required surgeries, my voice was destroyed for months, and all of this, of course, strained my business. With only my new husband's income and our resilience, policies like the child tax credit became our lifeline. We were able to afford essentials like food and utilities in order to keep our family afloat during these extreme work days. The One Big Beautiful Bill pro-family tax policies with our instrumental is helping my family thrive in Nevada's challenging economic landscape. The expanded child tax credit was a godsend for our financial stability. Raising a blended family, including a young child who needed child care, we faced significant costs in a state that ranked #1 for child care expenses in the last decade. The One Big Beautiful Bill child care tax credits will provide critical relief, allowing us to redirect those savings towards meaningful milestones. We could now afford the opportunity to use those funds to help our oldest teenager purchase her first American-made car. This achievement not only fosters her independence, but it also symbolizes our family progress and resilience. As a married couple filing jointly, the increased standard deduction has and thankfully will continue to significantly reduce our taxable income by significantly our tax obligation and freeing up resources in order to reinvest our businesses and plan for our children's future. For small business owners like us, we juggle multiple roles. This streamlined approach saves precious time and money, letting us focus on what really matters, our family's well-being and our growth. The Big Beautiful Bill emphasizes on simplifying tax compliance will allow for significant opportunity, not just for our family, but for many other Las Vegas families just like ours. It will also empower us to prioritize our children's needs over navigating complex tax rules. The Big Beautiful Bill, pro-family tax policies, particularly those supporting child care affordability, will alleviate financial pressures, enabling us to make tailored choices for our children's education. As passionate advocates for school choice, we face zoning restrictions in Nevada, which limits access to schools best suited for our children. They are currently enrolled in charter and homeschool. The financial flexibility to providing the Big Beautiful Bill will allow us to create educational environments that nurture each child's unique strengths, recognizing that no two children, even in the same household, has identical needs. This support will be vital to ensuring our children thrive academically and personally. My long journey from a childhood marked by poverty to the founding of 2 successful businesses raising 4 children will be a thriving and leading community advocate in Las Vegas shows the power and resilience when supported by opportunity. The Big Beautiful Bill amplifies the potential by delivering tax relief, reduced burdens, strengthens families, and fuels economic growth. The focus of the child tax credit, standard deduction, and child care support is not just a policy. It's a lifeline for families like mine striving for a brighter future in economics across America. It also sends a clear message to employees and families that hard work matters, and we believe in supporting your dreams. I commend this committee on making these provisions permanent, ensuring that the child tax credit, standard deduction, and pro-life tax credits will continue to empower families, support small businesses, and evaluate communities like mine in Las Vegas. By preserving these policies, you will absolutely help countless Americans turn dreams into aspirations, into realities, just as I have. Thank you for your time and unwavering commitment to building a stronger, more prosperous nation. Looking forward to your questions.
Thank you. Ms. Cannizzaro.
Good morning.
Oh, Senator Cannizzaro, sorry.
That is okay. Good morning, Chairman Smith, Representatives Titus and Horsford, and members of the committee. My name is Nicole Cannizzaro, and I proudly serve as the Majority Leader for the Nevada State Senate. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today on 3 critically important issues to Nevadans: healthcare access and affordability, energy, and food security. When Nevada became the first state led by a Republican governor to expand Medicaid in 2012, our uninsured rate was second highest in the nation, an astronomical 22%. Today, Nevada's uninsured rate is at an all-time low of 8%. H.R. 1's provisions targeting Medicaid will erase much of this progress and lead to tens of thousands of Nevadans losing coverage. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, nearly 800,000 Nevadans, almost 1 in 4, rely on Medicaid. Analysis from the Nevada Medicaid suggests that nearly 100,000 Nevadans will lose coverage due to more stringent eligibility verification requirements, paperwork barriers, and reduced funding, despite more than 2/3 of enrollees being employed. Another 100,000 Nevadans are covered through the Silver State Health Exchange. But under H.R. 1, some populations would experience a 573% increase in their premium payments. Across all income brackets, premiums are likely to increase by roughly 75% next year, which will lead to more Nevadans foregoing coverage. This means fewer people getting preventative care, more uncompensated emergency room visits, and long-term costs shifted to state and local health systems. Those costs, to be clear, do not disappear. They will get passed on in the form of higher premiums for everyone else. Under H.R. 1's changes to the provider tax structure, Nevada would lose an average of $160 million in revenue per year over the next 5 years. The effect on our healthcare infrastructure will be devastating and swift. Already, Nevada hospitals struggle to attract and retain qualified personnel and will have fewer doctors and fewer services. When provider tax cuts are combined with Medicaid eligibility tightening and reduced federal match, our rural hospitals may reduce services as well, cut critical units like long-term care for seniors or labor and delivery services, forcing residents to travel hundreds of miles for emergency or specialist care. Next, let's talk about energy costs. In Nevada, where summer highs routinely exceed 110 degrees, air conditioning isn't a luxury, it is a necessity. Our state has become a national leader in the renewable space, with Nevada holding vast potential for solar and geothermal power. The solar industry alone created more than 8,000 good-paying jobs across more than 100 companies. H.R. 1 discourages the development of cost-effective electricity generation. And according to Energy Innovation, Nevada families are now projected to experience an annual increase of $300 to their energy bills over the next 5 years. This won't just hurt the pocketbooks of Nevada families, it will damage our economy. So let's move on to food security. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program is one of the most effective tools we have to fight food insecurity. In Nevada, over 500,000 individuals, including 1 in 5 children, rely on SNAP to make ends meet. These are not people who are gaming the system. They are working families, single mothers, caregivers, and people living with disabilities. And for every dollar in SNAP benefits issued, between $1.50 and $1.70 is then returned to our local economy. Instead, H.R. 1 imposes stricter eligibility rules that will cost Nevada taxpayers $20 million per year while penalizing states for error rates that are often driven by administrative complexity and staffing shortages, not fraud. While Nevada's error rate currently falls below that threshold, that was not the case as recently as 2023. In effect, this means that thousands of eligible Nevadans could lose access to food assistance while at the same time costs go up for Nevada taxpayers. Finally, I'll conclude with a brief note about no tax on tips. The reality of this provision is that the tax exemption is temporary, while tax cuts for billionaires and large corporations in this bill are permanent. That is not tax fairness, it's tax theater. And this temporary benefit will only help Nevada's tipped workers if we continue to have tourists to tip them. That's no guarantee, especially amidst a year-over-year decline in visitation from both domestic and international tourists. This is a bill that puts the interests of the wealthiest Americans first. It locks in permanent advantages for billionaires and corporations, it strips away state flexibility and burdens our agencies, and it does not promote economic growth, and it will ultimately raise costs across the board for working and middle-class families. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you. Thank each and every one of you for your testimony. We'll now move to the question and answer session, and we'll start with Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to all of our witnesses. I really appreciate the diverse perspectives that you bring. I think hearing from your backgrounds, it's compelling insight that you offer. In leading up to the passage of this bill that was worked on literally for several years, especially when you look at what we did in 2017 during President Trump's first term and being able to do a lot of good things for the economy, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, the economy heading into COVID, that speaks for itself. And to see many of these provisions, very pro-family provisions, due to expire, we worked hard to extend those, hopefully make them permanent, and sifted through all sorts of data, what's effective, what's most productive in the economy. And even before that, I think it's important to note that President Obama, when he was still president, he advocated for reducing the corporate tax rate because he watched U.S. companies move out of our country into other tax jurisdictions because we had the highest corporate tax rate in the developed world. Now, we solved that in 2017 because after we passed that bill, we didn't have any companies do what hundreds and even more companies did before. So looking at what we needed to do this time and wanted to be fiscally responsible about it, I think it's important that we reflect on the fact that we, through our efforts, are making the safety net stronger. Medicaid, for example, limiting Medicaid benefits to those who are here legally and who truly need assistance. We've strengthened that position. When it comes to nutrition and the error rates, and Senator, I appreciate your perspective. In the bureaucratic nature, we should always be concerned about bureaucracy causing problems, perhaps. But we have states with single-digit error rates, and we had states with more than 50% error rates. And that wasn't using their own money. That was everyone else's federal tax dollars, and maybe a little bit of theirs, you know, proportionate to the taxes that they pay. But I think it's important that we have the expectation, as federal taxpayer dollars are involved, that the various states are truly making a difference and making sure that those dollars end up in the places they need to go. And we have succeeded in this bill, the reconciliation bill, the big, beautiful bill that our country has been needing. Now, we are, I think it's still our job to continue to move forward and look for ways to improve freedom and opportunity across America. And so that's why I'm glad we are here today to hear your perspective. You are on the front lines of our economy, and I so appreciate your taking the time. Ms. Simmons, I do want to ask you, you know, if we didn't get our work done, taxes were going to go up. Were you able to reflect on what that might have looked like had we not gotten our work done, and what that would have looked like for you?
Well, I'm not real versed on, you know, tax type stuff. I know that that any amount of money that I can keep at home is essential at this point.
You're a little better at spending the money than the federal government is. A little more efficient.
Oh, I can spend money.
Okay.
You can ask my husband. He'll tell you I can spend money. But I think that just being able to get it done meant a lot to a lot of people.
And the average family would have faced about a $1,200 or $1,300 tax increase. The average farm would have faced about a $5,000 tax increase had we not gotten our work done. Now, I will predict you will hear some different lines of thinking, perhaps, or they can't be observations because they're not based on fact from what I've been reading in the press. But Mr. Robinson, if you could just briefly, because the time is limited, talk about employment, employee retention, recruitment, wages. You know, wages grew under what we did in 2017 faster than what executive compensation did. The bill then and the bill now, I believe, is great for workers and great for the economy. But if you could elaborate just briefly on worker impact.
Yeah, looking back to what happened 2018, there was probably one of the largest growth of wages in the middle class in probably recent years. During that time, it generated a lot of people changing jobs, looking for more wages or benefits to improve their position financially. Currently with us, with the no tax on overtime, is going to encourage more people to move into the manufacturing sector for currently better pay and better wages, but then also the overtime. If you're on fixed income, you don't have overtime, right?
Yeah. Very good, very good. Thank you. My time has expired. I yield back.
Thank you. Ms. Titus.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, now, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm also really glad, and I'll say this again, to hear that there's support for doing away with the change in the reduced gaming tax, gaming loss deduction. I appreciate the chairman saying that. I have the Fair Bet Act. We have some Republicans already on that bill. I know Andy Biggs is looking at doing something, and so I look forward to working with you to do that. You have the Nevada Resorts Association, the entire Nevada delegation, Governor Lombardo, the Las Vegas Review-Journal, the Las Vegas Sun, the American Gaming Association. A number of tribes have all come out in support of doing away with that reduced deduction. Not to mention the over 1 million people who responded to our Twitter. I've never gone viral before, but this issue has actually done that. So, that shows you that it's not just a Nevada issue. People gamble all over the country, and that's true in every state except 2, Hawaii and Utah. So a lot of people, it's not just your high-end professional poker players. A lot of people want to play the slots on the weekend or bet on a football game here or there, so it has an impact on them. And if we don't do away with it, people aren't going to itemize and pay their taxes. They'll just figure, to hell with it, I'm not going to turn this in, or they'll go gamble offshore or in some black market. So I think we definitely need to get rid of this, so I'm glad that the Republicans have changed their mind from the time that they voted for it to now. My question, though, and I'd like to address this to Senator Cannizzaro. You laid out some of the problems that the state's facing, and we're not the only one, once again, facing that. I came to the state legislature last spring and addressed the legislature and talked about the tsunami that was coming as a result of this bill and other Republican policies. All the cuts to state programs, from food services to food assistance to Medicaid to maybe Medicare if we get to that point, even down to the Nevada Arts Council. I mean, we were talking quality of life as livelihood as well as lives. Now, we have a good rainy day fund. I mean, the largest we've ever had, thanks to our treasurer, but that's really not enough to make up for these differences. So you laid out all the things that we are going to have to do without. What's the state going to have to do about it? Are you going to have to call a special session? Are you going to have to now raise taxes to provide these services at the state level? Are you going to have to just cut the services? And you know, once people have something, it's very hard for them to deal with having cut that. No option is a very good option. So can you lay out for us what the state is really facing now?
Yes, and thank you for the question, Congresswoman Titus. So here in Nevada, we have a budget and revenues that are highly dependent upon sales and use tax, upon gaming revenues. We require for people to come to the state of Nevada and spend their dollars in our tourism economy in order to continue to provide services for so many Nevadans. Unfortunately, when we see things like a significant drop in state revenues, which we experienced between December of 2024 and May of 2025 with our economic forecast, a reduction in state funds of more than $350 million.
And that's anticipated to get worse because now gaming continues to drop as people aren't coming. They're not coming from Canada, they're not coming from Mexico, not from the European Union. China, Asia was our growth market. We see fewer heads in beds. We see less gaming revenue, fewer air flights. So that's going to continue to go down while the need goes up. It's a perfect storm. So what will the state do?
So we are looking at the implications of not only the policies that we have seen implemented just this year that have reduced our general fund revenues here in the state. And to your point, Congresswoman, you are exactly correct. A reduction in tourism is hitting our economy hard. The state is currently looking, in conjunction with that and the provisions of H.R. 1 that are devastating to our healthcare costs, that are devastating to our food security costs, and things that we are going to have to address to fill those holes or to cut services. And so we are currently in conversations about potential special sessions to deal with the budget implications of H.R. 1 because it does cut our Medicaid monies.
I know what it does. I just don't know how you're going to deal with it. That's what I'm trying to get at. You're going to raise taxes on Nevadans to make up for the loss, or you're going to cut the services, or, you know, you're going to just say sorry. It's a challenge. It's a problem. Well, thank you, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you all for being here today. So if you are familiar with Charles Dickens' book, this is the worst of times, this is the best of times. So it depends on who you talk to as to who looks at it as being the best in times and who looks at it as being the worst in times. I can only tell you this. I firmly believe that if you're going to run for public office, you should have actually spent some time in the private sector where if you didn't produce, you didn't get paid. If you didn't come up with an idea of, can I get overtime? At the dealership, I'm an automobile dealer. You know, people ask me all the time, are we going to have a chance for overtime? I said, absolutely, absolutely. We'll keep you busy as long as you want to be busy. There's something that's happened in America, and it's a cultural change that we have to be very careful of. And I'm serious when I say, people say, well, no, this is the worst of times. And other people, no, this is the best of times. It's the best of times because on November 5th, the American people went out and made a choice between two ways of running your government. A government that supplies you with everything, or a government that supplies you with opportunity that you have to go out and get it on your own. There's nothing worse than being dependent on somebody if you are in the ability to actually go out and do something. I know with most athletes, the worst thing to happen to an athlete is to get hurt and be off the field, because the longer you're off the field, the harder it is to get back on. So the key is, hey, anybody can play when they're healthy. The real key is, can you play when you're hurt? And as I look at all of you and everything that you've done with your lives, it's because you saw it as an opportunity. Maybe it didn't work out with what I first thought I was going to do, but then I found a solution. And the solution is always through an initiative to go out and not be dependent on a government program that can be very temporary, but on a will to win. And more importantly than anything else, you better frickin' hate losing. We have lost so much in this country for so long, and we think it's okay. It's okay. We don't have to be productive. We don't have to work. We don't have to. The government will pick up the check. Then you say, that's fine, but who supplies the government with the money to write the check? I said, well, people who work. Oh, all right, I get it. So, you know, we come here today, and look, I would hope that if there's anything that we would learn from, please look at what future or past generations did. All of us had parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles who had come through the blue-collar way of making a living, and they were proud of it. They were proud of a lot of things. They were incredibly proud of our culture. They were incredibly proud of the religion that they practiced. They were incredibly proud of the country where 1.5 million men and women died to give us this opportunity to get up every day. I believe this, and I believe it firmly. If policy is going to be made by people who've never been on the field, the chances are it's probably not going to work. We have driven this debt to a point that it can no longer even be imagined, and we continue to talk about the little things that bother us, and we try to make them big things. I can't tell you how much I appreciate being with you all today. This is incredible to see people who get up every morning, one reason and one reason only, take care of their kids, take care of their parents. Somebody told me somebody's grandparents or mom had to start dipping in. You had to help, right? You had to help your mom get through something she used to do by herself. There's nothing more demeaning than having to ask somebody to please help me get through this, okay? Listen, I can go on forever on this, but the people that raised me were completely different. And I'm not putting down anybody else's parents, grandparents, whatever your family tree looks like, that's fine. I know the one that raised me. Look, we have an opportunity now in this country. We can pick about all the things in the one big, beautiful bill. We can call it the one ugly little bill. We can call it anything we want. But the one thing we can't do, we cannot turn our back on hardworking Americans and saying, you know what we want you to do? Just work a little harder. Just work a little harder, because we need you to put a little more in. I want you to get more for what you do. The president's ideas when it came to tax on tips, overtime, I mean, who wouldn't think of that? The biggest problem people in business have today is when you look at it and moms go to work, it costs them more for child care than what they can make working. There's something wrong when not working is more profitable than working. And I would just encourage you, please keep the way you are, raise your kids, keep your grandchildren on the right path, make sure that that compass is always pointing true north. That's the answer to America. It always has been. When the world gets in trouble, only America shows up. When something goes wrong in America, nobody shows up. We have to do it by ourselves. So listen, God bless you all for being here. And I know everything's well intended. I think sometimes the poison is in the message and not in the encouragement. Please, please, let's continue to lead from the front. Let's hate losing, and let's make sure that the people coming up behind us hate losing as much as we hated losing. And we want to give them an opportunity to live. So thank you so much for being here today. This has been very good for all of us.
Thank you, Ms. Del Bene.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all the witnesses for being here and for your time. And to Mr. Kelly's comment, I absolutely spent most of my career in the private sector for a long time before coming to Congress, and as someone who worked hard and worked in small businesses and in big businesses, I know one of the most important things to building a strong economy is making the right investments and certainty and stability. We have no certainty and stability. We have whiplash with the administration's positions on tariffs. They're on, they're off. We've talked a lot about the impact that's already having on Nevada and reduced tourism. Businesses aren't investing because they don't know what's happening going forward. Manufacturers are uncertain because they're losing customers. People don't want to necessarily buy products from the U.S. if they aren't sure what the rates of what the prices of products are going to be when tariffs are on again, off again. And now we even have a deadline of August 1st, and we don't even know what's happened. Congress should have a say on that, and there should be more courage from members from this committee, from Republicans, to make sure that Congress has a say on what happens on trade policy and to make sure that we have that stability going forward. And then the investments in working families to make sure families are doing well. And unfortunately, this big ugly bill has made its priorities clear. Focus on the wealthiest and the well-connected. The tax breaks for the wealthiest, the well-connected, for large corporations happen to be permanent, but they're paying lip service to working families. Only limited and temporary provisions in this bill for working families. It's a broken promise. Trump and Republicans said they were going to lower costs on day one, but that has not happened at all. We've seen costs go up. Food, we're talking about what the impact this bill has on energy, on housing, for working families who are trying to get by, on childcare. All of these things are going against working families, and this bill is a broken promise. Since January, we've seen over and over the impact of this administration on Republicans, and now we're here, I guess, in a hearing to just try to promote their bill, but I think stripping 15 million people across the country of their health care coverage, gutting nutrition programs, rolling back energy tax credits, all things that actually give us a great return, is all part of this big broken promise. Senator Cannizzaro, thank you for being here. I've been a longtime supporter and leader on the child tax credit. I worked with House colleagues to expand the child tax credit in the American Rescue Plan. It was signed by President Biden, and Republicans let that version of the child tax credit expire. Now they're trying to take a victory lap while 22 million American children live in families based on the policy in this bill. They don't earn enough money to receive the full child tax credit. We know that when we give, and many of these are families struggling to get by, working hard, but we're leaving them out because they don't make enough money to earn the full credit. This bill does not make the child tax credit fully refundable, which means we get money to the folks who need it the most. What does that impact? What does the impact of that have on Nevada, on the families who rely on the credit to make the ends meet?
Thank you for that question, Congresswoman. I would note that Nevada is primarily a working class state. So we are comprised of working class families who fall right into those parameters that you discussed. Housing costs here have risen faster than other states. Our healthcare costs have been high. Childcare is extremely hard to find and incredibly expensive, and so on and so on. And so when you take money out of working class Nevadans' pockets, people make tough choices about giving things up. Rent doesn't get paid, utilities don't get paid, car payments, people go into debt. And often when people get behind, it's difficult or impossible for them to catch up financially, especially if they're also trying to provide for children. So not having that be fully refundable and putting that money into working class families' pockets, of so many of which are impacted here in Nevada, makes a real difference.
Absolutely, and we know when we had policy where the child tax credit was refundable, we cut childhood poverty across this country almost in half. We could have done a lot more if we keep that policy going. Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Estes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for organizing another round of field hearings. Our previous ones were so successful and insightful as we worked together on the Ways and Means Committee to create the one now passed One Big Beautiful Bill. It quickly became law after we passed it in the House and President Trump signed it on Independence Day of this year. After years of work, the One Big Beautiful Bill is delivering on America First policies that will fuel prosperity and restore common sense to our nation. And it provides a lot of certainty because we know now with the permanency that's in so many of the tax code provisions that people can go out and make the decisions whether you're investing for your business or whether you're an individual looking to maybe buy the new car that you need for your family. Additionally, I'll note for the first time in 9 years, the federal budget saw a surplus in June. Because of billions in new tariff revenue, the tax revenue exceeded spending by $26 billion. While deficits are still a concern, this is a start in the right direction. One Big Beautiful Bill will take our nation down the right path by cutting mandatory spending by $1.5 trillion, which is the largest spending reduction in the history of our country. It also delivers the largest tax cut in history for American workers and their families. One of the most important provisions of the bill is making tax cuts from TCJA permanent. This prevented a 27% tax hike for folks in my district if the Trump tax cuts expired. And they would not see the $2,200 tax increase that would occur January 1. I'm sure that some of them will use that $2,200 on a trip to Las Vegas next year. This prevented, instead, Kansans will now see an adjusted inflation rise in wages from $3,400 to $6,000. They will see more take-home pay as well. Families with 2 children in Kansas can expect to see an increase of over $7,000. And the same families will see an increase in the standard deduction on their taxes, boosting it by $1,500. Without the One Big Beautiful Bill, families would have been negatively impacted by a $15,000 cut in the standard deduction. The One Big Beautiful Bill also delivers real relief for our seniors with a tax cut on Social Security benefits. Every American over the age of 65 with an income under $75,000 will now qualify for a boosted income tax deduction up to $6,000. There's around hundreds of thousands of seniors in Kansas that will be positively benefited by that. The White House Council of Economic Advisors estimate that 88% of seniors will pay no taxes at all on their Social Security benefits because of this tax credit. One valuable aspect of the One Big Beautiful Bill that I had a major part in terms of helping was to make sure that we were expediently expensing research and development costs. So many businesses go out and make investments in order to come up with new ideas, new products, new innovation. And to be able to write that off the year you incurred it allows your cash flow to happen to come up with more new ideas. Mr. Robinson, thanks for your insight for leading and for leading the manufacturing at Click Bond. With the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill, 100% immediate depreciation is made permanent, which allows businesses like yours to immediately write off the cost of new equipment. From your experience on the factory floor, how does this provision impact your decisions around investing in new machinery or technology?
Yes, good question. It pretty much gives us a green light. There's sometimes things with the uncertainty was on hold. This is tell us to accelerate our timeline in terms of expansion, buildings, and innovation and technology, because with being able to write this off of it rather quickly, it's almost like a 20% or 21% decrease on the price. So if I spend $100, now it only costs me $79, so it makes sense to invest the money sooner than later, make things happen.
Well, those are great, and that's a lot of what we were looking at was how can we provide certainty for businesses to invest and grow and make the right investment for capital equipment, for research and development, and help make sure that they can then hire more workers and utilize that cash flow to do that. You know, the One Big Beautiful Bill is a historic legislative achievement. It'll lower taxes on Americans, increase their wages, bolster their take-home pay, and protect jobs in Kansas and around the country. It took many hours, often late into the night, working alongside my colleagues here today, but every moment was worth it because the results is a stronger economy and greater opportunity for American families to thrive like never before. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Thank you. Mr. Smucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the opportunity to be at this facility. Appreciate each of your testimony. Mr. Byington, I think you captured in your testimony, all of you did, but particularly Mr. Byington, why so many of my constituents like this bill, like what the president is doing, like what the Republican Party is doing. It's about rewarding hard work. It's about giving hope to hardworking American families. I couldn't help also but noticing your expression during some of the opening comments, particularly Mr. Horsford, some of the Democrats' comments. Could you tell me why you were, what you were feeling and thinking during those comments?
So being a true Nevadan, born and raised here, I've got the Ms. Titus and Mr. Horsford and Ms. Cannizzaro comments about the decline of the Vegas economy. I've lived in this town long enough to know why the Vegas economy is declining. It has nothing to do with our government or the administration. I've seen the prices. Vegas used to be a cheap place to visit, but we're not a cheap place to visit anymore. You know, these corporations have taken our town over. You know, you got to pay to valet. Valet was free. Parking was free. A bottle of water's $15. You know, the entertainment, the taxes. You know, they say that, you know, the big, beautiful bill that's benefiting billionaires. Who owns the hotels? I don't own the hotel. I'm assuming it's a billionaire. So maybe with a billionaire getting a tax credit that owns this hotel, he cannot charge $25 to valet, $50 to park here, or a $15 bottle of water.
I appreciate it. I want to get to one or two other questions, but the fact of the matter is that hardworking American families are seeing a tax cut in this bill, and billionaires are seeing their taxes increase slightly. That's the fact. What the Democrats are saying is just absolutely untrue. But what I want to lay out here is the stark difference, what you're hearing from both sides here. It is clear that Republicans are the family of are supporting hardworking American families, and Democrats, in opposing this bill, have voted against every one of those provisions that would have done that. And in fact, they're standing for bigger government. They're standing for more taxes from people's pockets. They're standing for more government expenditures. They're standing for people staying on Medicaid with no requirement for anything they need to do to stay on. I do want to also test Leader Cannizzaro, your thoughts on this bill. I picked up that you were opposed to the bill. You did, though, say that if tips were made permanent, you would feel perhaps differently. Are you saying, if no tax on tips, are you saying you would support no tax on tips if it were made permanent?
Thank you very much for the question, Congressman. I first would note that there are pieces of this bill that do help working families.
So you would support no tax on tips?
One of which would be a true no tax on tips.
How do you feel about every Democrat voting against the no tax on tips that was in this bill?
What is in this bill is not only a temporary 2-year provision for no tax on tips.
So no tax on tips is fine if permanent, but not good if temporary? Well, by the way, it could have been permanent if we didn't have to do it through budget reconciliation.
Mr. Smucker, will you yield?
No, I will not. We will not have had to do it through budget reconciliation if Democrats had joined us on this. I want to test, if I may.
But on that, I think
if I may, I want to test one other thing. Do you think that there should be a set of qualifications for individuals to access Medicaid? Do you think there should be a...
In Nevada, 2/3 of our Medicaid population is employed. They are working Nevadans. They have jobs.
Which is
they are working hard.
So do you think, just go with me, answer this, do you think Medicaid should be contingent on a set of qualifications?
I think that people who are looking for Medicaid coverage, because that is the only place they can get health care.
So I'm not hearing that you think there should be a set of qualifications?
There are qualifications for individuals
do you think there should be?
Who are on Medicaid.
Okay, so the question I want to know is, if you believe there should be a set of qualifications, one of the objections you have to the bill is that there would be more stringent adherence to those qualifications, ensuring that people comply with those qualifications. I want to say that Dr. Oz, head of CMS, just came to the committee yesterday and talked about 2.8 million individuals, 2.8 million at a cost of $14 billion per year, who were accessing either Medicaid in 2 different states or Medicaid and Obamacare marketplace subsidies at the same time. Do you think there should be more stringent requirements to ensure that doesn't happen and thus save taxpayer dollars?
What this bill does is put work requirements that have been proven to be ineffective and have resulted in nothing but additional red tape that prevent people from accessing health care.
The other thing that Dr. Oz said, which I thought was really good, and that is if you came home at the end of the day and there was someone sitting on your sofa that did nothing for 6 hours, sat and watched TV for 6 hours, wouldn't you require them to get up and do their part? Do you think about that all in terms of work requirements?
2/3 of Nevadans who are on Medicaid are currently employed. They have jobs. They are working hard.
What about the ones who aren't but could be?
We are talking about children. We are talking about seniors.
No, we're not.
We are talking about people with disabilities.
We're not talking about children. We're not talking about seniors. And we're not talking about mothers with children. We're not talking about individuals with disability. That is patently false. They are excluded from these work requirements. What we're talking about is individuals who are working age, who have no reason they could not participate in the workforce, but are choosing not to do so. That is what we're talking about. What Democrats are saying about this bill is patently false, and I'm way over my time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and I just want to thank all of the witnesses for their very compelling testimony. I listened very carefully. I read your testimony, and if I don't ask you a question directly, it's because, unlike the Republicans, I only have 5 minutes. I just want to start by responding to something that my colleague, Representative Adrian Smith, said, that, somehow implying that Democrats were not telling you the truth, and that they, in fact, were giving you all the facts. So let's just start with a little fact-checking here. First of all, the whole no tax on tips thing was not, Mr. Wrona, not Donald Trump's idea. First time I ever heard of this was from Stephen Horsford, representative from Las Vegas. So that's the one thing I would like to correct. Mr. Robinson, I am so happy to hear that you think that the Tax Cut and Jobs Act provided the resources. I mean, we cut taxes down to 21%, which is why I can't figure out why Mr. Smucker's saying that corporations are paying more. I mean, we went from, 36% down to 21%. We've made that permanent. You said that it gave corporations an opportunity to raise wages for workers, to provide more opportunities for them, and I know that you provide health care, which is very important for your workers, but the Congressional Budget Office says that the 2017 tax cuts, there were virtually 0 corporations that actually provided increases in wages to workers. Instead, they provided CEO compensation, and they provided shareholders with more money. So, Mr. Byington, you can forget about your idea of them lowering the costs and stopping that stuff from happening. You can forget about that. That ain't gonna happen, sir. So thank you, Mr. Robinson, for being one of the few people that did that. They say that we're not true, and I'm very happy, Ms. Overman, that you are going to get that $6,000 cut temporarily, and, maybe you'll live long enough after that for, them to come around to making it permanent like they did for the billionaires. I guess I want to ask some questions of the senator. Senator, we heard Ms. Simmons give her testimony about how she worked 12,000 DoorDashes. My God. Her husband was suffering from cancer. She worked. Other DoorDashers out there, are they going to be, even though they're working, because a work requirement was one of the big things you had to have. If you're out there DoorDashing, you do 12,000, are you going to get help? Are you going to qualify for Medicaid?
Thank you so much for that question, Congresswoman.
And you're working.
And there are so many Nevadans that fall exactly into that definition. They are working Nevadans, but because they cannot access health care through an employer, and because they do not qualify for subsidies on the exchange, which, by the way, are also stripped in this bill, they are on Nevada Medicaid. 800,000 Nevadans, 1 in 5 children, are covered by Medicaid. And so imposing these sorts of requirements in other states has only resulted in coverage losses and a lack of health care. And to be clear, we are talking about Medicaid, but we are also talking about hardworking Nevadans that are covered under Medicaid, and those costs that are paid through Medicaid are going to be absorbed in other places.
Okay, and Senator, I just want to know, because I just want to fact check some stuff you said in your testimony. You said that people who try to get health care on the exchange, they're going to face like a 573% increase? In other words, they're not going to have any health care. And people who are working won't be eligible for Medicaid. I'm just going to make a statement. The Republicans did not take an opportunity to raise the earned income tax credit. We are actually taxing people into poverty. So people who have no kids, under 25 years old or over 65, even though they're working, would not be able to benefit from that. On the no tax on tips, it only half of what you provide. If you work and you make $20 an hour, and you would get double time, make $40 an hour, you're gonna only get no tax on tip on $20 of that. I just want to take the last 7 seconds to talk to Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones, I had the opportunity to meet your wonderful cowboy husband. And he said that he, just like you, he's an entrepreneur. And he has a construction business. He has 5 employees. And he pays health care to those 5 employees. Do you realize that with this big, beautiful bill, the premiums on those on the premiums he pays are going to go up by 75%. And he said he was already struggling to do it. And the reason that he started his own business and decided to pay for health care is because he saw the huge turnover when businesses did not provide health care. I just want to congratulate you and your husband on your entrepreneurship, but I want you to know factually that you're going to be worse off under this big, ugly bill that the Republicans have passed. My time has expired. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your indulgence, and I yield back.
Mr. Kustoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the witnesses for being here. It's good that I'm glad we came to you instead of you coming to us. This is a great scene to be at. And Mr. Byington, if I can later, I know we're all looking forward to the tour here at YESCO. If I can with you, how many men and women work under you as a paint foreman?
I have 6 employees under me directly.
All right. So some of them will work overtime?
Every chance they get, yes.
So from a real practical standpoint, what does this bill mean for the men and women who work for you? How does it benefit them?
Okay. And in my department, it's almost a family. So my second, I have 2 of his children that work for me. So they were born under our insurance. So not only him and like that. So, but I think, like I said in my statement earlier, the housing costs here in this city are just astronomical. I'm wondering, you know, an average starter home is $25,000 to $3,000 a month. So, like I said, with the big, beautiful bill and these young kids, if they want to work hard, if they want to be ambitious, they're going to be rewarded. So now they have the opportunity to maybe save up for a house by working overtime, because that's money going directly into their pocket. So they can save. Other than that, you know, with, like I said, with the past way the economy's been this last 4 years, you're not saving for anything. You're lucky to put gas and food, you know, but now, you know, things are moving forward. There's a sense of release. People are saving money. They're talking about, now my young employees are talking about, I want to save for a house now. You know, I can put all my overtime into savings to get a house. There's hope for these people.
I mean, there's no doubt with the passage of this bill, they're going to have money in their pocket that they didn't have before we passed the bill.
Yes.
And by the way, some on the other side, at least a couple of times, have said that this bill is, I wrote this down, meant for the wealthy and well-connected. Are your 6 people you're talking about wealthy and well-connected?
No, they're not.
Thank you, Mr. Byington. Mr. Wrona, thank you for being here today. You've got a unique perspective because you are a server and you've employed servers in the restaurant business. What does this bill, the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime, but no tax on tips, mean for the people that you work with today?
Well, regardless of where anybody I work with stands politically, they're all excited about this. We talk about it at work. I don't know a single person that doesn't want more money in their pocket. And what it equates to in real dollars is approximately what I would pay for energy at my house. It's basically like my energy bills just got taken care of for the year.
Do you hear people along the strip or who you work with talk about the passage of this bill and what it means to them?
It's quite often talked about, almost on a daily basis.
What are they saying?
They're excited. I mean, it's nice to see, you know, some recognition for how hard things are, specifically for our industry, and to have political promises made on the campaign trail put into law and delivered for us.
And by the way, again, to reference what some said on the other side about this bill being meant for the wealthy and well-connected, are any of the people that you're testifying about today wealthy or well-connected?
Not the people I work with, no, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Wrona. Ms. Simmons, thank you for appearing today. You gave heartfelt testimony. If you can, and you don't know what you don't know, but from your perspective, what do you think this bill is ultimately going to mean for you and the savings that you're going to have?
Well, again, I believe that, you know, it's going to free up some stuff for me. It means that I'm going to be able to stay more connected with my family in Missouri. It's going to help with any future treatments. God forbid that he has to have more treatments, but it will help more with that. You know, it is truly, DoorDash is truly a independent, you know, industry. And I enjoy that part of it. I like being able to, you know, just do what I need to do. And freeing up this extra money means quite a bit to my family.
And Ms. Simmons, do you consider yourself to be wealthy or well-connected?
Not at all.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for appearing, and Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.
Thank you, Ms. Tenney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses. This is an incredible setting, and I want to thank you, the Young family, for this amazing backdrop that we have, and for a business that was founded many years ago that continues to be successful in Nevada. We're grateful to everyone in your hospitality. I just wanted to first just echo the sentiment of my colleague, Mr. Kelly. I come from New York. It's similar to maybe Las Vegas, and you know, right now, the leader of the Democratic Party in New York City, the contender who will likely be the mayor of New York, is a Marxist anti-Semite who believes in taking away the means of production from the people, who believes in, you know, a lot of things that are contrary to even our founding views. So this is a difference between whether or not we are a free country, where we celebrate the spirit of entrepreneurship and self-governance and freedom, or we go down the road to socialism and Marxism that is advocated, by the way, in the New York State Legislature where I served, where the Democratic Socialists of America are leading New York's delegation. Just wanted to mention that. And one thing, I love my colleague, Representative Moore from Wisconsin. She's terrific, she's smart, but one thing, she's got her facts wrong, because I can't find a district or a company in my district in upstate New York, which is driven by small businesses and entrepreneurs, that didn't actually increase the pay for its employees and actually invest more in its business because of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in 2017. And they're continuing to do that, and they are all sighing a huge sigh of relief in New York State, because we have reinstated the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act under President Trump, and we are going to see these tax cuts continue. I will not yield. I have too many things I've got to get to, but appreciate it. This is really important for New York. We are fighting against a Marxist regime in Albany, so every small business in New York is struggling. Every senior is struggling because of the high taxes, the high wage rates, the high energy rates, all the things that I feel like are happening under the leadership of the Democrats, not only in New York, but in Nevada, when I read some of these articles about energy and about some of the policies that are being put in place. So I first want to direct my question to Ms. Overman. I want to ask you, you mentioned in your testimony the importance of Social Security on seniors and the importance of having the deduction that we offered for the Social Security. You know, we would love to do a Social Security cut on taxes as President Trump wanted. We weren't able to do that because of the reconciliation rules. But we appreciate that. Could you just to give us a few seconds of why this is important to you and why this will help seniors, particularly in Nevada?
I'd like to also mention that I've lived in New Jersey originally and moved from New Jersey because of the high taxes and moved out here because it was much lower cost of living rate. The last few years of President Biden's term, I was paying taxes on my measly Social Security, and I just could not believe that I was actually paying taxes. I didn't make a lot of money. When you work in healthcare as a volunteer manager in both hospital setting and in hospice, particularly in hospice, you do not earn a lot of money. My salary was very minuscule. I loved working with volunteers, and that's why I did it. And I worked in hospice for over 10 years, and I worked in hospital setting for approximately 20 years. I loved working with volunteers, and I felt that it was a very rewarding environment. Well, it was a very rewarding environment.
We want to thank you so much for doing that, and to what Mr. Smucker said, in order to meet the work requirements for Medicaid and receiving it, you can actually volunteer for wonderful organizations like hospice or veterans. You can do that for 20 hours a week. You don't even have to seek a paying job, which is what's so interesting about the claims of the Democrats and what's actually the reality. But we have a lot of double dippers out there in the Medicaid world, and we have the largest fraud, abuse, and waste in the entire nation in the state of New York, where we have people that are out of 8 million people on Medicaid in the Essential Plan, 3 million are ineligible. So we have only 5 million people eligible and 3 million ineligible. It's costing us a ton of money. I wanted to get into independent contracting, but I know our time has expired. And I don't want to go over time because my dear colleague from Wisconsin said that only Republicans get extra time, and she got an extra minute. But I want to say thank you to all of you. I wanted to get into independent contractors, a little known provision of this bill that is going to be really helpful to everyone out there who wants to learn about their ability to continue to work on the side, to be entrepreneurs and independent contractors. There are benefits in this bill for you too. And thank you so much, everyone. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman, I have a unanimous consent request. I have a unanimous consent request, sir. I would like to add to the record the Congressional Budget Office report that the 2017 job tax, what do you call it? The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, that the reduction in taxes, that there were almost zero companies that used it to raise salaries.
Ms. Moore, do you have a copy of that?
Can I unanimous consent to add that to the record?
If you have a copy of that, if you provide a copy of that, we'll add it to the record. So do you have a copy?
That's all I want, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for yielding.
Reserving the right to object, I do have a question. Does that CBO report indicate that the Obamacare subsidies would be stripped from our bill, within our bill? Will Obamacare subsidies that was mentioned before,
the ACA premium, are not renewed.
They're not
So it wasn't a matter of them being stripped. They expired, and they expired just like the 199A provisions expired. They were double standard, but that expired, and you did not help them. So that means that somebody who's door dashing, and they decide to go get the Nevada Silver Plan, their premium might go up 573%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Okay.
will certainly
Thank
accept
you,
that.
sir. And I love my colleagues, especially this one over here with the great jacket. I yield back.
We definitely allowed Ms. Moore to have much more time than what she says that we allow Democrats, and I just want the record to show that. And what I would like to say in regards to the premium tax credits, which has gotten a lot of discussion that they both were discussing about, it is not in this bill. It's not even mentioned, it's not touched, so there's no way you can strip something out of a bill if it was never in it. Those tax credits
were not renewed.
It's my time, Ms. Moore. The tax credits expire at the end of this year, and it's important for the record to show that when the Inflation Reduction Act, solely passed by Democrats and no Republicans, extended the premium tax credits, enhanced them, they made it temporary, much like the no tax on tips, so that it would expire in 5 years. They could have made it permanent, but instead they made the electric vehicle tax credit permanent. Mr.
And you
Gomez.
could have made it permanent too.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know you mentioned at the beginning that you had these, I guess, field hearings a few years ago. I wasn't on the committee. I was actually off the committee because we lost the majority, and I just got back on last year. But this, honestly, this is kind of a joke. Like, this is so partisan, it's not even fucking funny. Oops, I cussed a lot, so sorry about that. It's just my nature, so if I offended anybody. But here's the thing. Let's make a deal. Let's have a field hearing, a real one. Just let's pull a district out of a hat, where we do a third Republicans, a third Democrats, and a third Independents. And let's make it open to the public. There's not even enough hearings. So, Mr. Chairman, would you agree to do a field hearing at drawing a random district out of a hat, agreeing to do a third Democrat, third Republican, a third Independent? So with 200 to 300 people, let's make it 500. So then we can really have a debate over this big, so-called beautiful bill. Mr. Chairman, it's an easy request.
You have your time and the clock is ticking.
See, there you go, folks. They don't want to have a real discussion and a real debate over this bill. They don't even they were told not to even hold in-person town halls. Why? Because their constituents are mad as hell. And they're mad as hell because this thing, this big, ugly billionaire bill that really gives tax breaks for the billionaires and largest corporations while screwing the little guy. That's what this bill does. But they refuse to hold town halls. I held a town hall in North Carolina because the Republican congressman there hasn't had a town hall since 2017. I held a town hall in Bakersfield, California, because the member of Congress there refuses to have a town hall. I went to a Republican district in Orange County. They refuse to have town halls in person. I've held 3 in-person town halls in my district, open to the entire public, right? You know, and here's the thing, not everybody agrees with me. People call me conservative in my district. So here's the thing. We can have this debate. We actually passed the tax package a few years ago. I think it was in 2024 or 2023. That was a deal cut by the Republicans in the House on this committee and the Senate Democrats. And we supported it because it was a bill that focused on working people. It dealt with an enhanced child tax credit. It dealt with a lot of things that would benefit working people. Is what we would have written? No. And the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because that's my background. I worked, when I graduated high school, no plans on going to college. Worked at Subway and Target. Understand what it means when when rates are going up when it comes to insurance, like but you know what? Didn't have insurance. I had to survive on Medicaid. But nobody, like my parents worked 5 to 6 jobs a week. Yep, 5 to 6 jobs a week. So this bill is not going to do you any justice. And here's the fact. We can have this debate as much as we want, but the reality on the ground will hit people in Nevada no matter what. Either it's going to be good or it's going to be bad. Either those tariffs that are costing jobs are going to either be good or bad, but you're going to feel it. I was here in 2008 for a few months. I was campaigning for Obama, and every door I went to, it was almost every other door, was a foreclosure sign. Foreclosure sign. It was, so bad federal policy hits Nevada first. Like, I recognize that. So I'm willing to, say if I'm wrong, but there are things that I know are, I hope they don't happen, but I'm pretty sure they're going to happen. The impact on working people, the fact that they're not going to get health care coverage, the fact that the cost of living is going to increase, and then the jobs are going to leave. We see that happening already. So I would love to have a real hearing with open public, and then let's randomly select people that want to show up. Because that's a debate I'm willing to have. But this right here, they're gonna carve you up into little snippets, and they're gonna put you on their social media in order to justify passing this disastrous bill. That's what it's all about. With that, I yield back.
Ms. Fishbach.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I just want to say thank you to the witnesses and thank you to our hosts, because this is wonderful. And I am really excited to be here. And I do have to take the opportunity to address the issue of town halls, because the other side likes to say, oh, you have to hold a town hall. But you know what? For them, it's political theater. It's just about political theater. I talk to my constituents. I go to their businesses. I go to the nursing homes. I talk to them, and they do appreciate this bill. So you can take the political theater and have town halls in everybody else's district, but we're about talking to our constituents one-on-one, and not in some big auditorium having people yell at people. That's not constructive. And I will say we have had, I wanted to say thank you to Chairman Smith, because we have been having these hearings across the country. And one of the first ones was in my district, in a small town, at a farm, and there was all kinds of people there. As a matter of fact, I served in the Minnesota Senate, and the former Democrat majority leader was one of the witnesses that I invited, so that he could be there to testify on mining. So we are listening to everybody. But most importantly, right now, I see witnesses in front of me that are saying absolutely, and regular people. And I think Mr. Kostoff asked a little bit about billionaires and millionaires, but I see regular people who are going to be helped by this. It is not fake. You are going to see real money in your pockets. You are going to see, and that's what you are telling us. And so I appreciate that, because we have a whole lot of regular people saying this is a good bill, and then we have one politician saying it's not. And I believe the regular people here, that this is going to help them. And so no matter what the critics say, it's the regular people that we want to talk to. And I appreciate all the stories, and I wish I could go through every one of them, because there's so much good in this bill. You know, we're talking about the no tax on overtime. We're talking about the no tax on tips. We're talking about the tax deduction on Social Security. We haven't even mentioned, the estate tax provisions that are going to help with estate tax, the manufacturing provisions, and the kinds of deductions we're doing there, the 199A deduction for small businesses. So we're not even talking about all of the wonderful things that are in this bill. And I certainly don't want to go over time, but I do want to just ask Mrs. Jones, you mentioned the child tax credit, and I want to know what that extra money is really going to mean for your family.
It means a lot. We have kids at elementary all the way up to high school. So it gives us an opportunity to, we have a daughter that she could start driving soon, so we'll be able to help her purchase a car. So we want to show her work ethic. So when we're gonna match what she brings to the table. We're not just going to hand her money. It's all about work ethic. So when people are sitting here saying that there's not people out there working, that the One Big Beautiful Bill is taking from people out there. It's not taking from people, it's taking from the lazy. That's the problem. They want to hand hard taxpayer money to the lazy, illegal aliens and say, hey, you don't matter. So I'm not going to raise my child to say you don't matter. We're showing her worth ethic. And the Big Beautiful Bill is showing her that too. And in regards to the statement about my husband's employees, yes, we struggle to help with making sure their benefits are paid. But coming here today, they were very proud. All five of them. And 3 of them are Democrats. And they said, give them hell. And here we are.
Well, thank you. Well, I appreciate that. And, you know, maybe I should just ask, I've got about 30 seconds left. Is there any of the witnesses that wanted to respond to something quickly that maybe you heard that you want just a couple of seconds that... Okay, well, I appreciate it, and I am going to stay under my time, Mr. Chair, and I'd like a couple of brownie points for that. With that, I yield back.
Thank you, Ms. Fishbach. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for getting us out west as well, where the heat is actually just heat, and you don't have all of that humidity like we do in the swamp. So I'm a neighboring Utah resident my whole life, and represent Utah's 1st Congressional District. Thank you also to the Nevadans for helping host this and all the folks here. I wanted to say that I'm actually doing my part to make sure that your economy in tourism is kicked up. We just came back down here for a basketball tournament for my son's 12-year-old team. I won't apologize, though, for winning the whole thing and beating a Nevada team, so it's not all good news for you guys, but we are doing our part. And to Yesco, Young Electric Sign Company, an incredible place to host. I don't think we've had a more unique, awesome experience in not only just the amazing work that you do and that you've built, but this is a family-owned company. This industry, actually, the outdoor media industry, is uniquely family-owned enterprises. And I love being able to showcase the hard work that they do. Mr. Byington, as a part of the Gracious Hosting Committee, thanks for the hard work that you've done into promoting such an incredible economy, right? That's what this whole industry does. The whole intent for an industry like this is to go out and help other businesses. You're got a core business, but your job is to highlight all the other benefits that other businesses kind of create and do. That is at the essence of what we're trying to do with this type of legislation. I wrote an op-ed a while ago. I don't expect any of you read it. I'm not offended. But it talked about the difference between 2 approaches, right? And now that I've been in Congress for 5 years, I've been in the minority, I've been in the majority, I've seen 2 reconciliation bills that I want to just kind of juxtapose. One is the American Rescue Plan, and one is the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, which is now extended and made permanent by the One Big Beautiful Bill. There's one fundamental difference. One empowers spending and a more bureaucratic approach and a more centralized approach to controlling that monetary supply, and the other pushes that decision-making and that monetary supply to, not monetary supply, but the savings, it pushes out to the economy. It pushes out to the individuals that are working in the economy, so they're able to make a bunch of decisions. And the intent is that if we're able to lower your taxes, you're going to go spend that somewhere else, and that business is going to do better, and then that business is also going to pay taxes. And that's why we don't see revenue dip when we decrease or make taxes competitive. We actually see consistent revenue growth. Utah is one of the states that has incredibly low taxes, but you see constant growth in what we're doing industry-wise and the ability to grow that revenue. It's vastly important. Ms. Jones, I was going to ask you a question about the child tax credit, but you just graciously answered it. I won't make you repeat some of the things you just said. I just want to highlight, well over half of this bill, the tax provisions in this bill, go directly to 2 things. One of them is the child tax credit, and one of them is the standard deduction. Okay, that's not even including no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax to support seniors. That takes it beyond more than half of it, right? Substantial, vast majority of this is directed at middle and lower income working families. That is the truth. No matter what you want to say, you can look at things one way or the other. That is factual. The child tax credit is approximately $800 billion worth of making sure that families now will not revert back to $1,000. And we did it permanently, and we increased it and enhanced it. That's the part that I think that I wish every American knew, is that when we had a chance to do something here, we didn't just do it for a 4-year period and then put it on the docket for later that, you know, Republicans and Democrats would have to wrangle or figure out. We made it so it was permanent forever. And we tied it to inflation, so it's going to continue to grow. That's something that's fundamentally different about that child tax credit that we've never seen before. And the standard deduction is not something that benefits the wealthy. So how in the world is well over vast majority of this bill that targets just a tax break for the billionaires? Billionaires don't itemize, or they do itemize. It's the 91% of Americans that don't itemize that actually get a massive increase in what they can write off or deduct from their taxes. So thank you for highlighting that. I want to ask one quick question, Mr. Byington, and I wouldn't be opposed to Ms. Simmons and Ms. Wrona. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. They're not often things that I focus on, Mr. Robinson. I focus on some of the other business provisions that create. This, though, you highlighted it some for me about hope. Are you going to be willing, if all of a sudden you can keep more of your take-home pay from taxes or overtime, are you more or less inclined to work harder?
Well, I'm going to be inclined to work harder because it directly benefits me. That's what this bill does. We've spent so much time debating about government benefits that are helping people who don't want to work or don't belong here. But the American dream is, and you can tell the diversity of this panel, diversity of this room. It's what America's built on. The harder you work, the more successful you are.
Ms. Simmons, Ms. Wrona?
And it's a proven fact.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Ms. Simmons?
Of course I'm going to work harder because the more I work, the more tips that I can potentially receive, which means more going into my household.
Thank you. Mr. Wrona, you can finish this up here.
Of course I want to work harder. I like to work hard. You know, life is hard, and that's what makes it great. This just makes it a little bit easier, and it provides incentive to continue working hard.
Thank you, Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you. Mr. Horsford.
Thank you. A lot has been said throughout this hearing, and I agree. We need to reward work, not wealth. We also need to grow economic opportunity, not have policies that cause economic uncertainty. We can disagree about which party's priorities, but if we center rewarding work and creating opportunity, and we work in a bipartisan way, we can actually accomplish more together than we can apart. And I wish, Mr. Chairman, that we would have had more of an opportunity to work in a bipartisan way, because there's a lot of things that we could have gotten done had we worked together. Mr. Byington, what high school did you graduate from?
I went to Western, and my family all graduated from Western High School in the late
Awesome.
60s.
So I'm a graduate of Clark High School, class of 91, go Chargers. That's when you know that you're a native Nevadan, because we ask you what high school you go to, and if you're at one of the original 9, then you've been here a long time. I want to ask Senator Cannizzaro, particularly because 30% of Southern Nevada's jobs are in hospitality. They generate over $80 billion of economic activity. Unfortunately, these blanket tariffs have alienated two of our most important trading partners, Canada and Mexico, and the facts for themselves, they speak for themselves. It's down 8.7% just among international travel alone. Yes or no, have you heard from local business owners who are suffering due to the downturn in our tourism economy?
Thank you for the question,
very quickly.
Congressman. Yes.
Okay. So that's the problem, is that this bill will only make it worse. Republicans gutted in this bill Brand USA, the nation's official tourism marketing organization, by 80%. That's in this bill. Since 2013, Brand USA has attracted 10.3 million visitors and generated over $75 billion towards tourism. And for every dollar that it spends, it returns $20 in direct benefits. Senator Cannizzaro, with our state facing a projected $350 million shortfall, if tourism declines and worsens, will that threaten essential services for residents in Nevada, yes or no?
Yes, Congressman, absolutely.
Mr. Wrona, I am so glad to have a hospitality worker's perspective at this table. Our working class has been hit hard for far too long, and I agree with you, and I don't care what party you belong to. Our hospitality workers are why we are the entertainment capital of the world. So thank you for being a part of that. I am concerned because this bill doesn't go far enough when it comes to no tax on tips. My tax on tips bill, the TIPS Act, would not only provide permanent tax relief without a cap, but it also closes loopholes to ensure that only those who are receiving the benefit, the hardworking hospitality workers, receive them, not others who could try to game the system. In Nevada alone, over 110,000 people could also lose their health care. Mr. Wrona, don't you agree that temporary tax relief on tips will only go so far if workers are also losing health care and other supports for work, like housing?
I can't speak intelligently on healthcare costs.
Okay.
All I have is my own my issues on that.
If
All I know is a
work-
good
if
idea is a
tip
good
work-
idea, and I
right.
would challenge you to extend these temporary cuts in the future to people like me,
And to
'cause
make
we
them
could use it.
permanent.
And I thank you. If you were originally the one with the idea, that's a great idea.
You know what? I'm not. You know whose the idea is? It's the workers. It's never been about one person. And this is the thing. I don't care about Donald Trump or any one person getting credit. It's the workers who said, give us more of our hard work, let us keep more of our hard working money, but also let us raise the wage of tip workers. Because in America, outside of Nevada and in other states, they get paid as little as $2.13 an hour. That is not a livable wage, no matter how you cut it. Ms. Simmons, are you familiar with how these food banks are funded? And I want to thank you for the work that you do with Project Dash, because it's great work that's helping about 1,000 meals be delivered to homebound seniors. Are you familiar with how the food banks are funded? Because some of those meals that you deliver come from organizations like 3 Square.
I'm not really up on how they are funded.
Okay.
I do know that they do, they ask for donations.
Absolutely. It's
and-
largely from federal government and private philanthropy. 3 Square does a phenomenal job. Thank you for delivering those meals. And my heart goes out to you and to your husband. I ask for his continued blessings.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I want to ask unanimous consent to submit for the record several recent articles about the effect of the Big Ugly Bill here in Nevada. First, from KTNV Las Vegas. What is the effect on the Las Vegas economy as tourism keeps declining? Here's what we found. 2, Nevada Independent. 1 in 6 Nevadans get food stamps. Many may lose benefits under Trump's big, beautiful bill. 3, Nevada Independent. GOP bill, biggest health care shakeup since Obamacare. Here's what it means in Nevada. Nevada Independent. Vegas isn't fun anymore if you're on a budget. Las Vegas Review-Journal. How will the big, beautiful bill impact health care in Nevada? Las Vegas Review-Journal. Las Vegas unemployment rate rises again amid tourism slump, the Trump slump. Las Vegas Sun. Nevada hospitals brace for impact of Trump's budget bill. Las Vegas Sun. Race is on in Nevada to install solar panels before end of tax credit. And number 9, Las Vegas Sun, Trump's budget bill stacks the odds against gamblers and threatens Nevada. 2 more. NBC News. The biggest political fight over Trump's mega bill are converging in Nevada. And just out this morning, Axios focus groups Nevada swing voters turning on Trump. And they turn to no tax on tips and the fact that it's not permanent, it's capped, and that it's not really going to give the relief. These are what Nevadans are talking about. And had we had a public hearing, These are what you would have heard from the majority of the people that I represent, that Dina Titus represents, that Susie Lee represents, and that Mark Amodei too. And so my only point, as I close, Mr. Chairman, is
Without objection, that's entered into the record.
when we get back to Washington after our August district work period, I would like to work with you and members of the Republican Party to reward work, to protect economic opportunity, and to do it in a bipartisan manner. I yield back.
Perfect. Mr. Bean.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. A very good afternoon to you, and good afternoon, Las Vegas. What a great town you have, and this is where it all started. The centerpiece of the One Big Beautiful Bill, no tax on tips, started right here. So the chairman could have gone anywhere in America to have this field hearing, but he chose Las Vegas. And it's a beautiful town. I also am doing my part to spend lots of money here.
All right.
I haven't gambled, but I did go to lunch on the Strip, and I went to see a movie at a place called The Sphere yesterday, and it's an amazing venue. That's certainly going to be very exciting. Now, the chairman could have picked anywhere in Las Vegas to go to, but he picked Yesco, which is the maker of what's synonymous with Las Vegas, those beautiful neon electric signs. And so, Mr. Byington, I talked to Jeff Young, who is the one of the operators here, and he said that you're not just a sign foreman, you're an artist, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of the works of art that you've created. For those watching on C-SPAN at home, you can't see this venue, and you can't see all of the officers from Las Vegas Metro Police Department that are surrounding the facility here. I want to give a shout out to them. Thank you for being here today. Know that America stands with law enforcement. It's crazy times we're in. We're with you. I also know that you work overtime, and so relief is on the way for you as well. So I also know Congress is a busy place. I've been there for 3 years. It's extremely busy. It can also be stressful, but it's not as stressful as the 3 years I spent as a server for Sliders Seaside Restaurant on Amelia Island, as well as Emilio's, and so many times. I discovered, and I was good at it, but I discovered it got stressful. 5 tables was my limit. Couldn't do 6. 6 would fall apart. So, Mr. Wrona, I give you a shout out as well. Now, I've only been on Ways and Means for 7 months now. I'm confused. I helped write the bill, but I'm really confused when I listen to the other side, the haters of this bill. And so there's only one way I can clear things up, and it's ask some of our panelists an extremely personal question. I'm going to ask it. It's really just a yes or no. If you feel embarrassed or you don't want to answer, I totally understand. But I have to ask it. Let me just ask it. Mr. Wrona, you have said, well, let's just ask. Are you a billionaire?
Not yet.
Very good. Miss Simmons, you drive for DoorDash. Are you a billionaire?
No, haven't quite made it there yet.
Very good. Mr. Byington, you're the artist here at Yesco making the beautiful signs. Are you a billionaire, my friend?
No, sir, I'm not.
Very good. Keep the beard. I'm a big fan. Let's go to Miss Jones. You talked about the child tax credit. Now, are you a billionaire?
Not in the least.
I don't understand, because the other side says this is just a billionaire bill giveaway. That's all they talk about. But I have, Mr. Chairman, I have the actual report of the money for the average American family of 4, $1,700 back in their pocket. $1,700. Now, you've heard the other side say that's not real money. That's not enough to go forward. So, Ms. Jones, how many trips to the grocery store could your family make with $1,700?
About 5 to 7.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's exactly right. Mr. Wrona, I've heard about your high air conditioning bill. By the way, I'm from Florida. We have a wet heat. I'm a big fan of the dry heat, but you still have to AC your living quarters. How many electric bills could you pay with $1,700?
Probably about 7 or 8 months.
Yeah, a lot. So that's the answer. So I want to say this. I know the other side said the fallout is that we're losing millions, will lose their health care. I want to give you the actual numbers because I have them. right here. Of the millions, 1.4 illegal aliens are losing their health care. It was never designed for illegals. It was designed for Americans. It's a safety net for the neediest among us. And that goes to our next round of people that have to go to work. 4.8 million Americans are abled bodies. They can work. They don't have kids. They're not disabled. And we're asking them, already it was my bill. I filed a bill earlier this year that was picked up by this committee for work requirements, 20 hours a week. Ms. Simmons, is 20 hours a week reasonable for somebody to qualify for business, for benefits that doesn't have kids and is able-bodied? Would you say that's reasonable? It's a yes. Yes is the right answer, but what say you? Is that reasonable, 20 hours?
Oh, sure.
All right, let's go with Byington. Watch what he does. Is it reasonable, Mr. Byington?
It's too reasonable.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So you said something earlier. This bill is about hope. Hope for the next generation. I remind this committee, I remind America, we're $37 trillion in debt. The only way we're going to get out of debt is to provide hope for the next generation to begin to pay off that debt, to light our economy on fire, which is what this bill will do. We're going to make more signs. We're going to have more tickets to the Sphere. We're going to do lots of things. We're going to hire more people, Las Vegas. And it starts now with the passing and the launch of the One Big Beautiful Bill. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Moran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to all the witnesses that are here today. I want to start with you, Ms. Jones. I love your story. I'm inspired by your story, and I want to applaud you for the achievements that you've made to overcome your circumstances. You said this. You said you refused to let your circumstances determine who you were. That's very inspiring to hear. As you work harder, I think I know the answer to this, as you work harder in your businesses, as you begin to achieve more, do you want to reap more of those rewards, or would you like to see the government take more of that out of your pocket?
I want to keep my money, personally. I want to see people do the same thing I did. As a person that grew up with a family of 13, I want to see everybody in Las Vegas build just like I did.
Yeah, I think you're a person that believes in personal responsibility. And by the way, that's what the One Big Beautiful Bill believes in, too, is personal responsibility and giving more of the taxpayer dollars back to them. How many of you think those dollars we're talking about here actually belong to the government? Does anybody think that?
Not me.
It looks unanimous here that everybody agrees the taxpayer dollars belong to the taxpayer themselves. So, Ms. Jones, I want to come back to you about personal responsibility. That means good choices lead to good consequences. Bad choices lead to bad consequences. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
What kind of choices did you make to go from, as you termed it, poverty to prosperity?
I learned in my community, it was okay to be at home. It was okay to live on other people's dime. And I chose different. I wanted more. I did the research. When I was having children, when I was trying to build a family, it was normal to be on welfare. I started working for Citibank in a corporate office. And everybody kept asking me, why do you drive so far? Because I wanted more.
You decided in yourself, instead of looking to government, you looked in the mirror and said, I'm going to make my dreams a reality, didn't you?
Absolutely.
And that's what we're trying to do through the One Big Beautiful Bill. I want to come down to Mr. Wrona. Mr. Wrona, you and I talked before this hearing. We talked about the fact that I also was a server, and I remember 30 years ago working in Mercado Mexican Cafe in Tyler, Texas. The lessons I learned during that time period, I learned how to communicate, how to listen, how to work under pressure, how to solve problems, how to take blame for things that weren't my fault, and also take blame for things that were my fault along the way. Are you learning those same kind of lessons?
I've learned it over a lifetime of working in restaurants.
Yeah, I was surprised just a second ago. Mr. Horsford said, when talking about the no tax on tips provision, he said, quote, it's not going to really give the relief. He said that. But here's what the numbers would say.
Will you yield?
I will not
Well,
yield.
you used my name, so.
That's exactly what you said,
No,
and I wrote it down as you said it.
It's not permanent relief, is what I said.
Let's just look at the next couple of years. So even in this next year, Mr. Wrona, you and your wife are both servers. If you take advantage of the full $25,000 and assume a 20% income tax rate, you're going to have $5,000 back in your pocket in the next year. Is that real money to you?
That's real money.
Would you rather that the people at this table decide what to do with that money and who else to give it to, or would you rather keep that in your own pocket and to make your dreams a reality with that $5,000?
I think I'm better at spending my money.
Yeah, I do too. I absolutely do think that you're better at spending your own money, the money that you worked hard for, the money that you made good choices for, rather than the people at this dais, even the people on my side of the aisle. As well-intentioned as we are, I think we get it wrong way more often than individuals do back at home. I'd rather see them have their money back. I'm going to end in this last minute by moving on to the Yesco folks. Mr. Byington, I want to come back to you because the Yesco story, we are here in this great warehouse where you guys have produced lots of great product over more than 100 years for individuals in this country. And I hearken back to the story where Thomas Young Sr. moved to the United States from England because of tough times there, and his father was a coal miner, but he saw in his son a dream of being an artist, and he gave him a $300 loan, and as a result of that, 100 years later, many, many people are employed, many, many products and services are being provided. This is the American dream. Following your passions, taking risks, working hard, investing your own money in your own future instead of depending on government, and seeing it pay off just like Yesco has seen it pay off. You mentioned earlier, a couple of quotes I want to mention. If you want it, hustle and work hard, you will be rewarded. We are giving people hope. This is what you said about the One Big Beautiful Bill. And finally, you said, the harder you work, the more you will be rewarded. Sir, you seem to have been carrying that banner that started 100 years ago at Yesco truly and faithfully. I want to give you the last word to comment on what's been said today and to remind the American people it's their money, and if they work hard, they should be rewarded.
Thank you. Well, fortunately, I'm able to work for a company, Miss Moore from Wisconsin, that gives back to their employees. This company does. Yes, this company does. These owners, they don't drive fancy cars, fancy houses. They believe in America, and they believe in the American people, and they reward us for us. And then this is a company, the harder you work, the harder you can rise. Sky's the limit. It's an amazing company, and it's a company that's family first. That's the main reason I work for this company, because other than profits and everything else, they do put family first. And I've been a testament to that, and I've felt that. So I want to thank them. You know, I guess maybe some other people aren't fortunate to work for us companies as good as I do. But I'm fortunate that way. They do give back to their employees. Whatever tax breaks these people get, they give back to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you. I want to, I'm gonna take the time to take questions right now, but I want to add to the record businesses that after the 2017 Trump tax cuts, when they lowered the corporate rate, these are all corporations that did various things for their employees, because it was said earlier that 0 people had increased wages. AT&T, $1,000 bonuses to 1,102 Nevada employees. Walmart, Nevadans employed at 42 Walmart stores received tax reform bonuses, wage increases, and expanded maternity and parental leave. Apple, there are 4 Apple Store locations here in Las Vegas and 1 in Reno. $2,500 employee bonuses in the form of restricted stock units. Home Depot, there's 21 locations in Nevada. Bonuses for all hourly employees up to $1,000. Best Buy, 13 locations in Nevada. $1,000 bonuses for full-time employees. $500 bonuses for part-time employees. CarMax is in Reno and Las Vegas. $250 to $1,500 bonuses depending on their length of service to their companies. The Starbucks Coffee Company, 253 locations in this great state. $500 stock grants for all retail employees, 2,000 stock grants for store managers, and varying plan and support centers employing stock grants. U-Haul, multiple U-Haul locations here because people's moving from other states to come to your great state. $1,200 bonuses for full-time employees. $500 is what they gave to part-time. TJ Maxx, there's 9 locations right here in Nevada. Tax reform bonuses, retirement plan contributions, parental leave, enhanced vacation benefits, and increased charitable deductions. And you know what? We've all had a Big Mac at McDonald's. McDonald's has 150 plus Nevada locations. They increased tuition investments, which will provide educational program access for 400,000 U.S. employees, $2,500 per year, up from what they provided, $700. I can continue to go on. Wynn Resorts, employee bonuses. Wells Fargo, they changed their base wage from $13.50 an hour to $15. So it had a huge impact by lowering the rates for those corporations, and they delivered for folks in Nevada. I also want to point out, we've heard people talk about all these folks that will be thrown off of Medicaid. Children are exempt, seniors are exempt. The only people that this affects is able-bodied, healthy adults with no kids. And when you break down of the 110,000 that is suggested in Nevada that will lose their Medicaid, 48% of that number, it's my time, 48% are able-bodied, healthy adults who just choose not to work the simple 20 hours a week or to volunteer the 20 hours a week. So they just lose it because they choose not to abide by the regulations. And then you have 16% that have access to other forms of subsidized health insurance, including the option to stay on Medicaid. And that's within the Congressional Budget Office. You have 13% that are already ineligible for the Medicaid program. And they've just been removed from the rolls. They should have never been on it, but they were on it and they were removed. 1.1 million in the country, or 11% in Nevada, are illegal immigrants that are no longer allowed to get Medicaid. And then 12% are just simply fraudsters who don't want to comply. And so I think it's important to put that into the record. I want to thank you all for
Mr. Chairman, will you yield?
I'm still
All
talking.
the extra time you had. I just want to make one sentence, about the bonuses. That's like a one-time only thing. It's not an increase.
Miss
in
Moore,
wages.
it is not your time. You've had your time multiple times. I'm the chairman. So what I will say is I want to thank you all so much because when I took over chairmanship of this committee, I said that I wanted to go outside of Washington to hear from real Americans, not the folks in Washington, D.C., so that we could hear what was going on. The very first hearing we had as a committee was not in Washington, D.C. It was in Petersburg, West Virginia, in a lumber yard. And it was called State of America's Economy, Appalachia. And we heard from working moms. We heard from small business owners. We heard from farmers. We heard from coal miners of the issues that they're facing. And started at that very first hearing, we took that information along with visiting 30 other states to craft the one big beautiful bill and to try to deliver for working families, small business owners, and farmers. And that's in fact what we did here. And we're going to continue to advocate for working families and small businesses and farmers. I'd like to thank you all again for appearing before us today. Please be advised that members have 2 weeks to submit written questions to be answered later in writing. Those questions and your answers will be made part of the formal hearing record. With that, the committee stands adjourned.